This is the 22nd season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, Aftco, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. We got a good show for today. BTL regular Matt Stefan joins the show for the first time in 2026. We're going to talk about a lot of things. Just kind of scrolling through the instant feedback, the WBE tournament. I did not know about this. This was a really good job kept under wraps. I do know a little bit more about it now. Actually have a call about it after the show to try to get more information about it. Looks like it's not the TTBC, the Toyota Texas Bass Classic, that back in the day had the top 15 Elite Series, top 15 FLW Tour, and the top 15 from the PAA Tournament Series. And then they get together in Texas. Toyota was a big part of that, the Texas Sherlock, the Texas Parks and Wildlife, and then they would basically for a truck and $250,000 battle it out to see out of those three tours who the top angler was. I think Keith Combs won it 2 or 3 times. I know Brian Snowden won it once. Guys were winning trucks for big bass, but this is top 25 from the Elite Series, top 25 from the BPT hybrid format, $3 million payout, over $1 million for first place, free entry fee or no entry fee for those qualified anglers. And then the money does not come from any of the angler prize pools. So between the dual threat fishing team series that's out, there's a lot going on. On the water, there's also a lot going on. Guntersville, everyone's posting the ice at Guntersville for the Bassmaster Elite Series. And then you've also got the MLF Invitationals or Pro Circuit, whichever one they're calling that now. That's back in action down in Florida this week. So Matt follows all this. He fished the dual threat down in Florida. His team partner, Miles, fished the last dual threat. It was also down in Florida. There's just a lot going on in the industry, which is one of the reasons why I kind of titled this, What It Takes to Be a Professional Bass Angler in 2026, because I've also had, we had like Drew Gill sitting across from me here last week, and like that dude has won $1 million. He's 22 years old. He's won $1 million. So you take all of his sponsorships away. He doesn't have to be coming out with the Nico Rama and his minnow and all that. Like he can make a living bass fishing. And I had a show a couple weeks ago. I was talking about, this is kind of the first generation since I've been covering it, where you can look at a Banks Shaw, who just won a Toyota again, by the way, after a top 10 in the BPT and 15 top 10s last year, and say, okay, this guy could like just wear like a t-shirt and overalls and some Crocs, and he would be making more money than 99% of people just strictly off earnings. But you also hear how hard it is to make a living in the professional realm as a bass angler now, and you need a YouTube channel and you need social media presence and you need sponsors more than ever. So there's like this weird yin and yang of, there's more younger guys who are making more money on tournaments than they ever have in the history of the sport, but there's also a bigger percentage of anglers and people in the sport who are making less and working harder than they ever have. And I like would have this conversation on the phone, and then I just called Matt and was like, dude, you haven't been on in 2026. Do you want to jump on? And you had to work through all of the things that you were working through to be a professional angler in 2026, Matt, to carve out an hour and a half to jump on this morning.
Well, thanks for having me on today, Matty. I don't know where you want to go with this. You reached out to me and you're like, we got a lot to talk about. I was like, I'm fair game. So whatever you want to talk about today, I will fill you in on my thoughts. Does not make them right or wrong. It's just my opinion.
They're your opinions. But so you heard that spiel before I brought you on. Are you on the same page with me on that? Like, did that resonate at all? Were you listening?
In terms of the the chance at making a living being tougher now? Is that what you're referencing?
Or easier for the younger
well,
anglers? Okay, like take it back to your first couple years of the FLW tour. If you don't know Matt's story, you can go back. He's told it on his channel. He's told it on BTL before he leaves the corporate world. Fishing the FLW tour, went to it full-time, secured a sponsorship, was making a living through the sponsorship. And I mean, like, just the classic 2010 plus professional angler living the dream scenario, right?
Yeah, so I don't know that it's harder or easier to make a living now versus so my first year was back in 2010, basically fishing professional. So it's been like 16 years at this point. And I don't know that it's easier or harder. It is impressive to see how there are younger anglers that have really jumped from college and just dominated at the pro level. And it seems like when, if you have that it factor now, you can just run away with it. I mean, you look at the results that Bank Shaw and Drew Gill and guys like that are having, it's unbelievable. As far as I know, it hasn't really happened in the past. I mean, I do think Kevin Van Dam, when he jumped on the scene, didn't he win Rookie of the Year his first year?
Yeah, he won like Angler of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Angler of the Year in the 90s.
I don't know what his tournament results were to get there. Like, I don't think he won like every tournament in the same way that like Bank Shaw has had every, top tens and every. I think, what do you say, he had 15 top tens?
I believe 15 like top tens last year, and he's 2 for 2 this year.
Yeah. So I don't know, man, I don't know if that's just like, I mean, you could look at Easton Fothergill last year too. And I mean, this year he's done so much in, his first basically full year of tournament fishing. I'm not going to take anything away from those kids. I think their skill level coming up at this point. They're just much more refined anglers when they start fishing at a much younger age, because we have high school fishing, we have college fishing. I think there's a lot to be said for just anglers getting to the pro level being much more well-rounded tournament anglers versus back in the day, you were kind of making a jump from team events or local regional stuff to the professional level, where it was like, man, you were being fed to the wolves when you got to that pro level. And now I feel like you've got such talented anglers coming up from a young age that they're just much more prepared when they get to the pro level. So I don't think it's any easier to necessarily make a living. I think there's a lot more avenues now actually for anglers to build brands and generate revenue from a lot of different streams than there were back kind of when I started. When I started, it was like you had to make a name for yourself more from a tournament perspective, and then that opened up doors. I don't think you need to do that now.
It took so Kevin's first event was in 1987, and it took him until the end of 1993 to knock out 10 top 10 finishes.
So that's 6 years. Is that what it was? 6, 7 years.
Yeah, about 50 events.
6, 7.
Yeah, that's my thing to do. When I call Matt's phone and I know that Hank and Duke are in the background, I like to shout that number out and then quickly hang up and just leave the car in turmoil and chaos.
That is your MO. You very much end the phone call by saying 6, 7, and then for the next 5 minutes, my boys run around the house going 6, 7, 6, 7.
I know, and I love it. But yeah, no, about 45 tournaments. He'd won one in that time frame, but it took him from 87 till 93. That's 10. And that includes top 100, superstars, invitationals, classics, all sorts of stuff.
So why?
Granted, a lot more people there. A lot of those fields were 200 plus boats.
And what is your reasoning for that? Why are the anglers coming up now being much more dominating? Is it forward facing? Is it they're more well rounded? Is it the information?
I don't think there's any.
Better?
I don't think you can. I 100% think that forward facing plays a big role in it, but forward facing with productive practice, with meaningful practice, like I don't think there's a lot of the anglers that are over 40 years old, definitely over 50 years old, that when they were growing up were practicing to become professional tournament anglers from 10 years old, as far as multiple day tournaments and traveling and learning different fisheries and doing all that. Like, I think you just loved fishing and it was something that you developed. I think that's why you saw guys with very particular skill sets. And there's no doubt that that forward facing sonar helps you navigate skill. Like, think of tidal fisheries and offshore fisheries, Great Lakes fisheries, all of those things, like, definitely reduces the learning curve, not in a bad way, but it 100% reduces the learning curve with more prepared anglers coming up younger.
Yeah, and I would also state that I think forward facing helps target a better quality fish that were not necessarily targetable in the past. So when you have that technique mixed in with the experience factor and the fact that these kids are, like you said, almost being groomed in a way to fish tournaments, you end up having absolute monsters, which I think it's kind of cool personally. Like, I think it's scary in a way as an angler to look at guys like Drew and Banks and be like, I mean, how old are they? They're in their
22.
It's like,
I think Banks is like 24.
30 or 40 more years of just complete domination. And I don't see them dropping off at any point.
Well, that's what I'm wondering is how, so the front end, the guys who are in on the front end of anything obviously are going to be more dominant and have more success, right? Because you have something that not everybody else has, totally legal. I mean, whether this was like the wishbone in football or the West Coast offense or whatever, like, you saw it be like completely dominant in the sport. Like, you see it in hockey too, like the first people that opened up like neutral zone passing and plays and stuff when everybody else did it. And it was like, oh my God, this is unstoppable. This is it. But then what you see is everyone else adapt. And then you have the people that grew up in that system. And now all of a sudden you have a lot of it that's going on. So I think this is what we're doing with these young anglers. There's part of me that believes that what we're doing is the same thing that we did with the Whopper Plopper, that we did with the Alabama rig, that we did with the chatterbait, which is you go out for the first little bit and you're new to it, you're on the cutting edge of it, you're in the forefront, and you're like, my God, well, these are the only 3 baits you ever need to throw. But then everyone catches up, everyone starts figuring it out, everyone does it. So we're on the front end thinking, well, yeah, these guys are gonna, and all these anglers are going to dominate, but you're going to get to the point then where the entire field are anglers of that caliber with that raising, who understands it, and now it levels completely out until the next new thing comes in.
And I think that's happening already to a point, which is one reason why it continues to astound me when you see what I would consider more of the front runners of that continue to just dominate, though, too. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I think you'll see competition catch up to the point of those early adapters, but at that point, will there be new baits that they jump on first or whatever? I mean, it's fishing. You've always got people that are early adapters that utilize it to their advantage. And then from that point, people catch up, and then generally something else comes out. And whether that same group of people become the early adapters or you've got new early adapters is what really determines who that next class of superstars are.
I mean, you look at a guy, I had Riley Nielsen on the show, who was the first man out of the Bassmaster EQs, missed it by like 5 points, finished 11th. I think he's 22 years old. He used Chat GPT. He wanted to start a landscaping company, wanted to be able to fish every day and have affordable living. And he asked Chat GPT where he should move to. He's from Utah, and he settled in Grant, Alabama. It was one of the three. I think Chattanooga, Tennessee, said was one of the options. Somewhere else in Alabama or Louisiana or something was an option. He ended up there. So he gets to fish Guttersville, literally moved there because of Chat GPT, and being in Utah without many fisheries. He said his practice was every day he watches hours of archived live footage of tournament coverage, and he does not skip through the boring non-fish catching parts. He actually studies what the anglers are doing when they are not catching them to learn the nuances of what he needs to do when he gets on the water.
You learn more from not catching fish than you do from catching fish in a lot of instances.
I have a tendency to disagree with that because I spend a lot of time not catching fish and I still feel like I am not very educated.
So a question back with respect to that, I would argue that watching Bassmaster shows from the 1980s wouldn't actually even be all that relevant at this point. Do you think you have a lot to learn from, watching? I guess I say that from the standpoint of,
well, they're making decisions with information that didn't exist then. So, I mean, it's kind of like trying to learn how to drive a NASCAR by watching the guys in the 80s. Like, yeah, it's still the fundamentals. You're still taking a car and making 4 left turns, but no, I don't think there's a lot of relevant information that you can glean from a 20-year-old TV show.
Man, I feel like you go back and watch those shows and you generally don't even see anything but a random fish catch here or there. Like you go back and watch some of those old Bassmaster shows and it's like the camera was with 1 or 2 guys and then the weigh-in happens and it's like the 5 guys that finished the top 5 never even had a fish catch in the whole show.
It seems like, so I've been back and I've been watching a ton of even just like 2010 to 2016, 2017, 2018. I know those are new, but really if you go to 2010, bro, that's 16 years ago. Like we're getting beat by kids who were born that year right now, Matt.
I know.
But if you watch it, to me, you go into a Bassmaster show and there wasn't live then, and it's funny to watch the edited shows. I've got a point that I want to make on that later too. But you watch it and it's like 90% of it is guys that are just grinding their butts off to like get 5 bites. Like it's, I can't hear how many people say, it's slow, it's tedious. I just keep slinging this crankbait or keep throwing this chatterbait or keep working this buzz bait. And, it'll pay off like that. That's it. I'm hard headed. And that's my biggest, throwing in grass for 8 hours. I mean, you just don't see the tournaments where the guys who are doing well nowadays are struggling to get bit.
Dude, the first I don't know, the first 6 or 7 Forest Wood Cups that I fished, right? Always August, hotter than heck, going to places like Hot Springs, Arkansas, where you're fishing Ouachita or Lake Hamilton. I mean, it was kind of like pick up a topwater and you tried to fish 25 miles and you were fishing for 6 or 7 days to come in contact with a couple of wolf packs of fish. And if you were able to catch 5, you would do really well in those tournaments. And if you didn't catch 5, you still had potential to make the cut and do all right. And that just doesn't happen anymore. You just don't have that.
Interesting, Dustin said, because that's real fishing. So I 100% believe that for an entire demographic generation of people that like, yes, that is real fishing, but you could literally take the college, the high school, the under 25 or 30 and 28-year-old group and put them in there and watch it. And they would look at that and go, they're looking at what they're doing now as real fishing, and their points are just as valid. Right? Like, yeah. Like when Larry Nixon was throwing a jelly worm on a pistol grip with lead and stuff, and then like, with a paper graph, and then you look at KVD, who's using a Navionics chip and a 6XD and a trolling motor with spot lock on it. One could argue that Larry Nixon could look at that and say, well, that's not real fishing.
I'm not
saying that Larry Nixon is. I'm just using that whole generation. I think every generation, and I think that we look at it as fishing and don't apply it to other sports. But I think you look at like sports, Matt. Like look at baseball. What is the hardest thing to do is to compare generations and talent because of how fast everything moves.
Well, and I think everything does evolve. I mean, I think back, like I can't watch the NBA right now. It just does not interest me. I grew up in Chicago in the 90s, like the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, like going up against, Detroit Pistons and the New York Knicks at that point. Like, it was physical, hardcore basketball. That felt like real basketball to me. Like, it would be like 75 to 73 was a high scoring game, and now it's like they're putting up 140 points. I feel like I'm watching the Harlem Globetrotters. I consider the 90s like real basketball, but it's to each their own. Some people love to see the high scoring games and the 3-point balls. I prefer to see elbows being thrown. Like, that was what I grew up watching. So I don't know that it's real. Like, I don't know what you would consider real fishing or not. There are some comments here in your chat board that, people are saying, well, but at least they told the products that they were using. And I would sit here and argue that until recently, you probably had more misinformation regarding what anglers were saying they were using, because they didn't have to tell. There was no cameras on them. They would come off the water and say they caught them on a spinnerbait or a jig, and they caught them on crankbaits. And there was no truth to that, just because there was no way to prove it. You had guys back in the day, it was guys would pull out a whole different set of rods so that when they went back to the weigh-in, all the rods they caught the fish in were actually in the rod box, and they had fake rods sitting on the deck. And nowadays you can't get away with that because you've got cameras everywhere you go.
I mean, do you think part of it is people watch this for entertainment, but more so in bass fishing? I think that this is a hotter topic than it is in a stick and ball sport. Because when you're watching an NBA game, when you're watching an NHL game or a Major League Baseball game, you're not watching that to try to get better at being a baseball player. You're purely watching that for entertainment, whatever emotional connection you have through that. I think it is so much different and so much more of a lightning rod topic in fishing, because the vast majority of people who are in this participate in it, have at least a couple % of thought that they could potentially reach that level at some point, and you're not watching that tournament strictly for entertainment value. You are also saying, what can I get out of this that I can apply into my own fishing thing, and then relating your experiences and your beliefs on the water to what you're watching at the highest level, which is not the case in billion-dollar stick and ball sports.
Yeah, most people I feel like are watching those sports for pure entertainment value, to root their team on, to feel like they're part of a bigger organization, versus I would say most people, I would say that I bet you 70% of people that watch fishing live streams, like the major organizations, like everyone with Gunnersville this weekend, I'd be willing to bet you the majority of the people that are watching that Gunnersville event are because they're trying to learn how to fish Gunnersville. They've got a tournament there coming up. They live there. They fish it once every year. They're going there for a championship the following year. It's in a way, it almost is, I don't want to say spot stealing, but it's how do I catch fish on that lake? Because it means something to me, because that's the lake I go to. I think there's a good portion of people that watch for entertainment, but I don't know that they're necessarily watching to root on, Bank Shaw or Drew Gill. I think that's a small percentage of people that have a relationship with those people and root them on specifically. But I don't know, I think there's more people that watch it just to root for their fantasy fishing teams than they are like actually rooting for an individual person. This is why, we've talked about this on the show before. I really think you need to have, I think if you really want to grow the sport fast, you need to have like regional fishing teams that have areas that can root for that team just because that team is from their area, right? It's similar to football or other sports where you've got, people that root for the Chicago Cubs that are all over the country because they have a connection with the Cubs for some reason. That's how, if you want to bring a major fan base in, you got to have something like that. I just don't think any individual angler is going to be able to bring millions of fans into the sport, which is going to have an impact. Then if you're saying you need to have all these views to bring big non-endemic sponsors in. I just don't see how that happens, because you're just not going to have people that are coming on to root or to be entertained from the content specifically to root on specific people.
And I would also venture to say that the majority of those who are proficient with forward-facing sonar enjoy watching a forward-facing sonar tournament and enjoy the process because they are learning from it, because they're engaged, because they can relate to it. And the vast 99 plus % of people who are, quote, haters on it are because either A, they're not good at it, or B, they don't have it, or C, they are watching it purely for the entertainment factor. And a large majority of the forward-facing sonar anglers have not had to develop a magical personality because they are making over $250,000 a year. So there's 3 strikes against them. And it kind of goes back to, like, if you are never going to flip, do you want to watch a guy flip? If you are never going to throw a Carolina rig, do you want to watch a guy throw a Carolina rig? But with forward-facing sonar, there's obviously less anglers who are proficient at it, who understand it, and who have access to it than there are guys who are going down and, you know, throwing a Texas rig lizard off the bank.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you from YouTube content that if you do a video on forward-facing sonar, there are people that want to watch and learn that content, but you turn off a bunch of people too. If you do videos that are solely on flipping down the bank, you have the opposite. You know, you have anglers that I'll get comments from people that say, well, that's not a winning tactic, so I'm not really interested in that. You know, you need to go get your jig head minnow. I don't know what the right answer is for that, because you've got 2 sets of people that want to do one versus the other. So, you know, from a tournament standpoint, you know, you get a lot of people are like, well, you know, the NPFL is real fishing because they don't allow it. There is a major subset of fishermen that don't want to watch NPFL because it doesn't do, they're not doing what they love to do, which is forward-facing sonar.
Fantastic. Have at it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem.
I think it's a great ally. Like in this sport, like I said, this is not a traditional sport. Like it would be. I mean, I think that's good.
I don't disagree with you. I think if you can satisfy the individuals and give them what they want, that's fine. The problem I will say with that, though, is when you take a small subset of fans and viewers and anglers and start splitting them up, it makes us a smaller group. So you're not going to approach those better sponsor dollars if it truly is view based, because you're splitting up what is already a very niche market.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how we went down this route.
No, well, because the whole thing is the modern Bass Pro, what it takes to be a professional angler in 2026. And
what I would tell you, to get back to answering that question, is the best thing an angler can do for themselves is build their personal brand. If they can build their personal brand, whether it's through fishing or whether it's through content or their marketing abilities or the relationships that they have with other people within the industry, they will be much more valuable to the industry, which will end up allowing them to make a much better career overall.
So you still feel like building a personal brand for these younger anglers, the guys who are, so this is where I guess where I am having a like my trains of thought are not like matching up, right? So I haven't had this. So this is what I wanted to ask you about. So you've always had guys in like a Marshawn Lynch who's like, dude, I get paid.
They should have given him the ball, dude.
I know. But listen, he was like, I get paid to run the ball. I get paid to score touchdowns. I get paid to perform on the field. I am not here to answer interview questions, to do any, like you've got those guys that are, I am here to fish. I don't care about any of the other stuff. I make my living fishing. I'm a professional fisherman. Get out of my hair with all that. I am on the water 5, 6, 7 days a week. The rest of this stuff is BS, fluff, and there's more of those guys right now that are younger than there ever has been in the sport. But what you just said was building a personal brand as a professional angler has always been important. So these guys are saying, okay, that's the entertainment stuff. I just want to tournament fish. I want to make my living tournament fishing. But you have the majority, a lot of people that are saying, hey, in order to have long-term success and longevity in this sport, you have to build a brand. Look at Skeet, look at Ike, look at Kevin, look at Edwin, look at Wheeler, look at you, look at anybody who's done that. Majority, like even Kennedy has built a brand around not having a brand. I mean, it's true though. So where the disconnect, where we're reaching that disconnect is like right now in the sport between a group that is doing it and a group that is saying this is how it has traditionally been done to make a living. So what's going to happen? Is this established group going to just fade away as the guys who catch them, and it's just going to be a smaller cutthroat group of guys who catch them? Or are the guys who catch them now going to say, man, I wish I had built my brand while I was making hay in the first 5 years of my career, and now that I'm just an average angler, I've kind of sunk back into oblivion and no one knows who I am, and now I'm struggling even though I used to be King Kong?
Yeah, what I would say is your personal brand is the most important thing that you can do. I think everything that you just kind of talked about flows up into your personal brand. If an angler wants to make a living off of just tournament finishes, more power to you. If you're able to do that, what that tells me is your personal brand is worth multiples in value than what those tournament winnings are. So if you're able to capitalize on your personal brand on top of that, you should be in a much better position overall. Now, if you don't want to put in the effort to do that and you want to rely just on tournament winnings, that is 100% okay too. The problem there is you're developing a lot of long-term risk in terms of how long you're going to be able to make a career because of things like you just said. If the next wave of individual anglers comes up and they're better, you're going to lose that value. Maybe they take away forward-facing sonar. You're going to lose that. There's risk in being able to continue to perform at a high enough level to win. I think if you're sitting here evaluating what some of these guys are making, you can look at somebody's results and say, they made $250,000 last year. That is a ton of money to win. Like I don't know what the percentage is. Matt, you probably have the exact number of anglers that made $250,000 in winnings last year. But I can tell you, most of those guys had over $100,000 in expenses, in entry fees, in travel, and that's just to compete. So they may have walked away with $150,000, which is a good income, but that's not necessarily like, giant dollars in today's day and age. So, and that's a very, very small percentage of anglers that are doing it. My personal opinion is if they're good enough to win $250,000, they probably can be making another $250,000 to $500,000 in sponsor dollars. That's where, in my opinion, your value is. The other aspect to it is when you build your personal brand, that opens up a lot of doors down the road for you in a lot of different avenues. So if you're able to do that, you're just going to have, as an angler, in my opinion, you want full control over your business. Your brand is your business. If you don't bring value through your brand, the only options you have are through what the other companies or tournament circuits are willing to offer you. If you actually have value, it's amazing to me. Early in my career, it was like a one-sided deal, right? The organizations or the sponsors said, this is what we're offering you. Take it or leave it. Now I'm at a point, because I've worked on building my personal brand, where it's actually a negotiation and you come to an actual agreement that works for both parties, because you bring enough value where you can actually try to stand up for yourself and make things better. If you don't work on your personal brand, I just don't think you're going to have those opportunities.
So does publicity equal value? Does views equal value? Do impressions equal value? Like, what equals value in the industry today?
It all depends on the companies you work with. Everyone looks at this is one thing that I've recognized, at least, is every company out there looks at things differently. You know, if you're talking about working with direct companies selling goods, a lot of times they just care about how much has been sold. If you're talking about working with a company that wants to build their personal brand, impressions are much more important. You know, if you're looking to, it really depends on what you're trying to build, but everyone values things differently. I mean, I work with some companies that think, Facebook and Instagram are the place to put content. I have other companies that tell me Facebook and Instagram aren't worth their time. Put videos out on YouTube, right? It just depends on what they're looking for. But it's not necessarily just content. I know people that are extremely valuable in the industry because they know everybody and they're able to make contacts and make relationships and get people in touch with each other because they know everybody. Like, they bring value, and it's completely behind the scenes, but because they're valuable to the people they know, they make livings in the industry. I put you asleep, Matt.
Okay, no, I'm pulling this up here. So when I first got in it early than that, like, views equaled and impressions equaled value because there were a limited amount of channels to disseminate those views. So the fight was for the magazine, the TV show, and Bass Times to get the views because the people were only able to see what was happening through those, like a newspaper article, the Bassmaster magazine, the FLW magazine, and the Bassmaster Classic had the most value because it had the most publicity and it had the most views and it had the most impressions. That was why I think we hear people say, well, it's the Bassmaster Classic. Yes, the Bassmaster Classic is everything it has been, was, will be, ever will be, as far as winning that trophy. But I think where people are confusing the value of the Classic isn't in the intrinsic value of the Classic. It's in the publicity, views, and impressions of the Classic, because now there's so many other revenue streams that you can be pumping out content at the same time. Like, so this is what I was looking at for here. I was surprised I was able to follow it. Like, remember when this was the big deal? That is it's called the Classic Power Jig. It has a picture of Jay Yellis in the corner holding the Bassmaster Classic trophy, and then also a sticker that says Jay Yellis winning bait Bassmaster Classic.
It was Lake, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is the Classic Power Jig with a picture of him with the Classic with that, and it's a jig. It's a standard flipping jig. But Jay created value for himself on the water because he took advantage of the limited channels to get his product out. You see where I'm going with this? Now, I don't think that is nearly important. I don't think that the views, the impressions of publicity is nearly important as far as developing personal relationships with listeners, viewers, fans, fellow anglers. I think that has taken a much more important role in the past 3 to 5 years is in the world of professional bass angling than just winning and getting impressions and views.
Well, I think impressions and views are easier to get now, which has devalued a lot of things. So, if you're talking about the Classic, that used to be such a huge deal, like you said, because all the eyeballs were on it. When you could watch those anglers fish, wasn't the Classic the first thing to get live streamed? Didn't they do that? Wasn't that the first one?
Yeah, they've tried. So yeah, they've did some live streaming there. They had Bass Center and stuff. I know ESPN really tried and then realized, wow, this is really freaking tough.
I get. Yeah, my point is that nowadays there's as much exposure, I feel like, now on and not just the Elite Series events, but like there are probably 30 live streamed events that get the same coverage that the Bassmaster Classic gets. So it's really, in my eyes, washed down the Classic because all the eyeballs aren't set on the Classic. Everyone used to watch it because, in my eyes, it had the most exposure. There was more content put out on that than anything else. And nowadays, I feel like you have the same amount of content put out on all these other facets. I mean, this whole discussion goes back to whether or not you truly believe that tournament bass angling is truly a sport or a marketing vehicle. You know, in my eyes, I truly believe it's a marketing vehicle and it's not actually a sport. Now, what I would state is I think a lot of, because we treat it in a way, or we broadcast it as a sport, what we're actually seeing now is the talent coming into the sport that truly are the best anglers in the world because they've been groomed from such a young age, and they are able to make a living in it because they're good enough to compete at it. Is it gonna push out the idea that the sport is truly a marketing vehicle, though, is the question. And I don't know that it can, because in my eyes, the money that these anglers are winning is only there because the event is only there to sell product in the first place. So if you push out the idea that it's no longer a marketing event, will you be able to actually generate the dollars that the sport needs to run itself?
I don't think so. I think the answer is no. Everyone who's tried that has not worked.
I mean, if it goes back to how many eyeballs you can get on the events, I would agree with you, because I don't know of any way as of right now where you can, with anything that we've got in place, I don't know of a way that you can get enough views to generate huge sponsor dollars from non-endemic companies.
When was the first like big classic bait that you remember, like in your head, that sticks through, like that you associate a bait with a Bassmaster Classic?
I mean, what year was that Yellis won? Because that was one that really sticks out in my head. You know, one of
2002.
Okay, so yeah, I would have been in college at that point. And it was probably right around the time where I feel like there was more exposure, at least available to me at that point. Like, I didn't have cable TV growing up and things like that. So I watched the ESPN shows, and that was about it generally. You know, one tournament that stands out to me is when Van Dam won with the red eye shad in the back of Beeswax Creek.
2010.
Okay, so that was one that stands out to me a lot, just because I think it was his last tournament was my first red crest that I fished, and the last day of practice was an extremely foggy day, and I launched at Beeswax Creek, and instead of going anywhere because you couldn't see anything with the fog, I just kind of jumped on the shoreline and went under the bridge, knowing that was where Van Dam had won. And like, I go under the bridge and I see the silhouette of a guy cast, and immediately, just from the cast, I could tell it was Van Dam. Like, all I could see, it felt like a Busch Light commercial, right? Yeah. Like early morning fog, I could just barely make out a person. And I literally stopped and watched them fish for probably 5 minutes and just thought to myself, like, I'm literally watching his last tournament in the spot where he won a classic, feeling like I'm watching like a beer commercial right now. It was a very surreal moment for me, because growing up, Van Dam was one of my favorite anglers coming from up north, and just, you know, I like the way he fished. And so that is one that jumps out to me. It was when he won that one on the red eye shad, but definitely the other one, for whatever reason, was the one where Yellis won going up Lay Lake. That was a good one too.
You know, Jeffries was on his boat the first day
in that event.
Yeah, it's his media observer.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's one that he won it. I would say the first one that I think made an impact on me, well, obviously, so I was 13, 14 in 98 when Denny Brower won with the flipping tube. So I was there for the casting kids and all that. So like, I remember that. But that I think that I can remember, and like I said, this is all generational. So there's guys before that are going to go, Hank Parker spinner baits and jigs. You know, it's all based on like when you got into it and what your era is. But that 99 win on the Delta by Davey Hyde on the Bacon Rind.
Yeah,
I know for a fact that I was in the Assumption Bass Club fishing out of the back of the boat, and 3/4 of the guys who had thrown a Producto worm, that was the first creature. Like everyone was flipping the Bacon Rind in Central Illinois, and that was because of the Davey Hyde Classic win. And then the next one
too. Remember that one
with the was that Lucky Craft stuff, or was that balsa?
No, what was it? I think that was a Bagley.
A Bagley's
B2, wasn't it?
Yeah. See, that one didn't stick out to me. The celebration and all that knew it, but I don't associate that with a specific bait. The next one that sticks out to me, because I was still in college, and I remember, and this is a boring bait, but when Alton won on Hartwell on the mop jig in 2008, the mop football. I remember I bought a ton of mop footballs, and that was like the biggest trend, was dragging the biggest, nastiest, round rubber, bulkiest jig that you could find.
I literally just went through a jig box that has been hidden for years and opened it up and found a bunch of mop jigs that I tied because of that. 2008. Yeah, I mean, they're that long. Like, I don't know that I've ever caught a bass on them, but there's probably 5 or 6 of them sitting over my shoulder in a box over there. I also found, it was funny, in that box, I also found a bunch of Denny Brower Premier Pro Model jigs, like still in the, in the packaging and everything. Good jig. I flipped the hell out of those. Well, that was like one of my favorite jigs when I was younger. And when I saw it, I was kind of like, man, I don't know why I haven't thrown this in a long time. And what I was more amazed by was they still make it. It's a little bit different. It doesn't have the eyeballs on it, but I was surprised to see that Tackle Warehouse still had it. So the other bait, it's odd that this is what stands out to me, is one of the most emotional classic wins, Chris Lane on the Gambler Ugly Otter. Oh, that's funny. I couldn't even have, if you had told me he won, I don't even recall him winning. You don't remember? He went down on one knee and put his hand up in 2012 on the red, and he went in that backwater. He caught a 6-pounder, and he was flipping the Ugly Otter. I wouldn't. If you had said, Matt, what bait did he win on? I would have never said that bait. Ugly Otter, to me. Do they still make it? I have no idea. The Ugly Otter is the most underrated soft plastic bait that has ever been made. I could not agree less. You ever fished an Ugly Otter? I bought a bunch of them. There were actually 2 sizes, if I recall. There was an Ugly Otter, and I think there was a Little Otter, and they were different. The Ugly Otter had 3 paddles, flat paddles. The Little Otter, I think the flat paddles on the side were boot tails. Yeah, they still make them. Okay. I bought a bunch of them, and I can tell you I sold them all. Well, when was the last time you used them if they're so good? It's been a while since I flipped. You got it. That was not pre-forward facing sonar, but that was pre-drop shot era for you. Yes. This is the Gambler Ugly Otter. Yeah. When you reeled it in, this tail would thump. Roop, 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 roop. When you flipped it, you could either keep it as the paddle tail to move more water, or you could cut it. You could also move more water by turning the phalanges here into swimming or keep them as paddling. This bait is, think about it. It's got swim worm. It's got swim jig. It's got beaver. It's got creature bait. It's got every single thing in it. I'm a big Ugly Otter guy. I hear you. It failed me miserably. I spent a lot of money. What didn't you like about it? It didn't catch fish. I I would choose a lot of other baits at this point, but hey, more power to you, Matt.
I mean,
We all have baits.
I
we
have
like.
not. I will say that
An otter is like my spirit animal too, and it should have gone over well.
I will say that by saying this: I've not had an ugly otter in the boat in the last probably 5 years, 10 years.
I'm surprised they still make them, to be honest with you. Not because I didn't think they worked well for me, but because I have not heard of them in it. This conversation is the first time I've heard that in a long time.
John said that they're not marketing the ugly otter because they're too busy knocking off core tackle stuff.
I have no comment.
I would split the paddle when I felt like splitting was necessary.
Do you normally split? Like, so when you get like a beaver or a bait where you can split, you split?
No, absolutely not. I want as much gliding action. I want as much water movement as I can. I've never understood. So like when we did the BFE with Big Bite, there's a reason why there's like a notch there. Hallman wanted it to be split and I wanted it to not be split. And obviously Hallman has caught a lot more fish flipping than I have in the past. So we put it so you could zip it up. But there's a lot of really good flippers who, I mean, dude, you have the Ozark rig. What does the Ozark rig do? It promotes gliding action, subtle gliding action on your bait. And the more surface area you have, like a flying squirrel, the more that bait is going to glide instead of just donk.
Yep. Yeah.
So I would think that you would not be a tail splitter either.
So I'm generally not. The one thing I like to tail split on is if I'm punching. And I do that because I feel like when I hold it, say, up under a mat, and the legs kind of can do more like that. But that's the only time. Generally, I don't tail split. But that is the one time I can think where I'll work it more into the arsenal as I'm fishing to see if it makes a difference. But generally, I'm not.
I'm trying to think. So Conroe, Texas, Jordan Lee. Let's just see if we can name these. I have the list here. This is what I'm looking at, but it does not say baits, anything, or whatever. So let's see if we can go through the last 10 years and see if it's less valuable, like the winning lure. So 2017 Jordan Lee, Lake Conroe. I think that one's a pretty notorious bait. Pretty well-known bait, just the way that it went down.
2017 on Conroe. I'm trying to remember what he...
Do you remember how he ended up where he ended up?
Didn't he
broke
catch
down going under the bridge? Couldn't get up on pad.
Yeah, wasn't he catching him on like a Carolina rig or dragging something?
He was dragging a mop jig, 1/2 ounce mop jig up shallow on a rock pile.
Yeah, I don't recall that. It's funny. Like I'm much better off telling you more about stuff from like the early probably 2015 than I am like.
Okay, we'll go through that then too. So 2018 Jordan Lee, Lake Hartwell. I believe that was like a wacky rig Cinco type thing.
Well, that was. I'm pretty sure he was NACO rigging that, wasn't he?
Yeah,
fishing a jerkbait, and he was just kind of
Ott Defo, the last classic, the 49th classic before the split. That was like just a hodgepodge of stuff, didn't he have some Rapala cranks and a chatterbait?
Yeah, he was catching big smallmouth on. It was a crank. I don't recall. Was it one of the OG series?
Might have been his OG.
I think that was kind of the start of that whole like line of lures, I thought.
Yeah. Hank was twitching a jerkbait in 2020.
That was a stunner. He won that on. 2020
was a stunner.
He
wasn't with Livingston then.
No, my recollection is he caught it on prototype stunt. He won back to back, right? And wasn't it both years on the stunner? But one year I think might have been prototype.
2020 winning bait was a Megabass 110. This is what it says. A Maxent, a jig, and a Maxent trailer. But I do agree that I think that was like maybe the prototype Berkeley. stuff that he was throwing then. And then the next year on Ray Roberts, I think he caught a couple fish flipping too.
Yeah, I think that year there was a little bit more.
Yeah, Ray Roberts was the stunner. It was I think he was throwing the 110 on the rip wrap at Gunnersville. Yep. Then Jason Christie, the Yum forward facing sonar minnow on Hartwell.
Yeah, that was
right.
It was more a jig than the sonar minnow, wasn't it? He'd catch a limit each morning on that, but then he went and upgraded everything on the jig.
Yep. Gussie in 23. That was a guppy head and a Z-Man's jerk shad.
Yep.
Jerk shads. Hamner in 2024. I think that was a
jerk bait.
That was a mega bass too, wasn't it?
I don't know. It was a jerk bait.
It was definitely a jerk bait. I believe that was a mega bass. And then Easton this past year was a Strike King Nico.
And
a jerk bait.
I don't know what he was a worm though, wasn't it? Most
it was a Strike King worm.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Okay. So like for me,
what is your era?
The more recent stuff, because I'm working the shows, I just don't pay as much attention to the actual event itself. Like if you were to go back and look at like I just said, like the.
Okay, let's start what 95.
Well, that's might be a little early. I said 2000s, man.
Okay, 2000. Well, obviously this was your neck of the woods. So Woo Dave's in Lake Michigan weighing in Soldier Field.
That was on a drop shot.
I thought that was on a tube.
Maybe could have been. I'm mad that I wasn't here. I was on a family vacation that week. I was very.
I don't know the answer to this one. KVD 2001 Louisiana Delta.
Yeah, that's the one he won on a Strike King square bill, wasn't it?
No, not in 2001.
Well, then was that his first win?
That was Kevin's first win. Yes.
Wasn't he flipping a tube then?
Your guess is as good as mine on that one.
I'm pretty sure he was flipping that one then.
I was unaware of that. Oh my God, good job. Strike King KVD Pro Model Tube.
I got one.
And some square bills. Yeah, the Strike King KVD Classic square bills.
I think that was the first year they did the Super 6.
Mm-hmm. Jay Yellis in 2002. Ike in 2003. What did he catch his never give up fish on? It was a spinning rod.
No, was it a Sweebo worm? It was like a little swimming worm.
It was some little worm or something.
I think it was the Sweebo worm.
Okay.
God, is that even a thing? I don't know why that just popped into my head. I think there's a worm called the Sweebo worm. It was kind of the start to like the speed worms, wasn't it?
A prototype swim worm, a stone jig, a super finesse worm, and a prototype swim worm. So yeah, probably that's what it was, Matt. Takahiro in 2004.
That was the balsas. Yep.
And then 2005 KVD, which was the Rogue.
Was that Grand Lake?
That was Pittsburgh.
That? Oh yeah, that was the one Aaron should have won.
Yep.
I mean, not taking away from Kevin, but Aaron lost.
He had 3 fish. He went to boat flip that one. It broke the line halfway up. 2006. So this was like the wraparound classic where it switched from summer to early in the year. 2006, Luke Clausen on the Kissimmee chain.
Yeah, he won that on a little trick worm.
Flipping it in the reeds.
Into the pads.
What did Duckett win on Lay Lake? I know he caught that 6.5 punching, but was that on a chigger craw?
He was junk fishing. Yeah, I don't know what the bait was he was punching, but I know he caught a bunch on various things.
Yeah, we already talked about Alton with the mop jig. 2009 Skeet Reese Red River. Let's test your knowledge here.
Man.
That was I can't remember, not a Revolution. It was a Lucky Craft. It was it was at the time the most expensive spinner bait you could buy.
Yeah, he was catching
Redemption,
them around
maybe?
wasn't he catching them around duck blinds?
He was back at the front of where Dalton Bobo had finished second he was in the front of the Bobo hole.
Isn't it called Bobo's hole? Yeah.
Yeah, but he was in front of it. Like
Yeah.
Faircloth and all the other guys were in the back of it, and he was at the front of it, and he was flipping. I want to say a chigger or a pit boss or chigger cross, some sort of Berkeley that had just come out, and then also throwing that redemption spinner bait.
It was like a little ditch with stumps and pads and
Yep.
That was a cool one.
I was on the water watching them. So what's wild is I was like on the water watching a lot of these that are coming up. So I have like more of the KVD, Lay Lake, Red Eye Shad, phenomenal, iconic win. Louisiana Delta, that was the introduction to Brandon Polinick. That was Aaron was there, and he was throwing a 1.5 and a trap in there too, wasn't he? A 1.5 and a 2.5 where he was banging them off of off of the stumps in that fresh water that was rolling in.
That was the one where they were all catching like 25 pounds.
Yeah. Yep. Chris Lane flipping, Ugly Otter, Cliff Pace, Grand Lake, was it a jackal jerkbait and a jig?
Was it a re-range?
Might have been. Excuse me.
It was a jerkbait. I don't recall the exact one.
I think it was a jackal. And if I remember the story correctly, he had it painted a custom color because when he went down to pre-practice, there was like an old man in an aluminum boat. This is months and months before, right?
Okay.
And he had a beat up clown colored rogue on. And Cliff took note that if that old man was out there in the winter before the classic cut off and he was throwing a clown color, that was the color you need to be throwing on Grand. So he had it painted up.
Did he have it painted up clown color? Or did he have it painted up with like some of the old bone colored material with clown color?
I think he made it look like an old.
He was beaten up.
Yeah. What year did I say that was?
Dude, that's a color that I feel like is very underutilized. It was such a popular color when jerkbaits kind of became a thing, and now you don't see it at all.
Jackal Squad Minnow.
Do they still make that? I don't think so.
I don't know. Yeah, there's no pictures of it. Oh, here we go. We're back to it. All right. Randy Howell, 2014. Demon Colored DT6, a.k.a. Livingston Lures Howler, a.k.a. Chatterbait in the back of Spring Creek that actually won him the tournament.
I'll agree with that, but you said it, not me.
I mean, isn't that well known? His biggest key fish was caught on a chatterbait in the back of Spring Creek. His house now sits where he can look out his window and see where that fish was caught. It was that call that won him the tournament.
Is that true? He lives right there right now?
Yeah, 100%. You can look out his window and see where he won the tournament. It was a fish that was not really highly publicized, but it was that fish that gave him the win. It wasn't the Browns Creek Bridge fish that he caught on a DT6. And then this was, to me, the first like commercialized classic where he was dialed in enough and smart enough to tie on the howler.
Yeah, and catch a few.
And catch a bunch of fish on the howler too. Yeah. He did catch fish that he weighed in on it, so you can't say that it is not a classic winning bait.
I'm not saying it's not. What I'm saying is I've got about 20 demon colored DTs hanging.
Have you found that
right
DT6 is pretty much like a buzz bait as far as it works better right before the lip falls out. like the more beat up and rough that bait gets, you're like, oh, this one is just a fish catcher. And then you go to make a cast and come back with just the lip. Anytime I have fond feelings towards a DT6, I know that I'm about to cast a lip out of it. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast with the balsa bait.
Yeah, I can't necessarily say that I feel like I've had that many come off. It happens with a lot of baits, but I can't necessarily sit here and say the DT6 is at its prime point right before the lip falls out.
I strongly believe that. Edwin Evers, Grand Lake, homemade round ball jig.
Yeah.
And then we went through the rest of them from there. That's not bad. We did pretty good there. I guess we do know kind of, but we're also kind of dialed in on it.
Yeah. Do you think there was so much more press on the events back in the day, or because it was such a focused event on the Classic that it's easier for us to remember it from 20 years ago? Or do you think that that's just because that was when we were like, I don't want to say diehard fans, but we were like really in.
No, definitely state. 20 years ago, there was way more publicity put on the winning bait.
Yeah.
People were buying magazines not to see who won, but to see what the hot bait won.
Yeah. And that's part of what I was saying about like all of the footage now. Everything blends together now. Like it's hard to be like, man, what just happened down in Florida? There were just, so I was down there for Dual Threat. The following week there was an Everstart on Okeechobee. There was a college thing on Toho. Dual
BBT
Threat was
on Gunnersville.
John's. I mean, it's just like I can't keep up. I'm a diehard and I can't keep up with it all. And that focus is just taken away from what used to be kind of one main event to now it's like there's just so much of it. It's hard to stay on top of it all.
Let's put one more question on this since we just went down this road. If you were to pick from 1971 to 2025, the most famous, well-known Bassmaster Classic winning lure, like the one that just stands out above all others.
Man, I mean, the lure. So for me, it's generally not the lure. It's the angler's reaction that I think about. Like I think about KVD jumping on stage when he won his first one. Or I think about like the lost fish. Oh my God. Why was it Guido that had the lost fish that he had in the boat that flopped off of the front deck into the water?
That was Jim Bitter.
Did Guido win that one then?
I believe so.
I don't remember. Anyways, but so I think about like I think about like that fish flopping off the deck. The bait isn't nearly as big of a factor to me, I guess. I mean, if I had to pick one, I definitely think about like Takahiro Omori on the B2 because it was such a drastic change in what he had been doing. But I also think I remember that because of his reaction more than necessarily the bait itself. What would you say?
So the thing that stuck out to me, it was even before I was born, but here's the thing. It was how he was doing it, not what he was doing it. The 1982 Kneel and Reel Paul Elias Classic has just been talked about in the legends and lore since I've been a part of this sport at 13 years old. But I can't. I'm on the internet right now looking to try to figure out what crankbait he was kneeling and reeling with, and I don't know what it is.
I assume it was a man's bait, but I don't know that that's the case.
I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what that bait is, so it obviously wasn't. I mean, I would also think second to me would probably be the Ken Cook spinnerbait.
Yeah, that was a good one. I still think for me, like the happiest I think I've ever been was seeing KVD win that first one. And that was just because like I was a fanboy of Kevin's. And I just remember like being really happy at that point for him.
Mm-hmm. That was pretty much all I had to go. I was just curious your take on what it takes to be a professional angler in 2026. I feel like we hashed it out here. I need to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll kind of lay out some of our plans for the 2026 season, what we may be fishing together, what you have left on the table, what you're fishing. I also want to get your thoughts on the first dual threat team tournament that you participated in.
You turned me down to be a partner for that.
I didn't turn you down to be a partner. It was the week that my wife moved into our house, so I had to move her. Plus, we had the ice storm coming in. Plus, I had all the shows booked for January.
We'll get into it. If you need to take a break, that's fine. We'll get into it. But you turned me down.
I did not turn you down. I just said that it's not an opportune. Believe it or not.
No, I'm going back to Leech Lake. You
like my
down.
I got this last night in the mail. Do you like my new sweatshirt?
I do like that. Yeah,
dude, check this out. So Josh from Pro Bass Adventures, he was on the show the other time and they talked about the new colors of Rio Ricos that they had.
Yeah.
You ever seen those colors of Ricos? Are you allowed to talk about other baits? I know you're a Berkeley guy.
I talk about a lot of other baits on my channel. Yeah.
These will be available at the Classic, I believe. I don't know if you can get them online or anything, but they actually worked with the Rico company. That's Bacharach Bone.
So are those special for?
Yes, those are special colors from Pro Bass Adventures for Bacharach Bone.
So can you only get it at their?
You can get it there, but at the shows that they're at too. He said they'd have some at the Classic in Knoxville.
Oh, cool.
And then they have the little, but this one's freaking phenomenal. This is called Pro Bass Splash. I like that you can open up their Ladina lures. Look at that. It's like
I like that one. I like the other one a little better though.
The other one is gnarly, but this one's good for like clear water and stuff.
Yeah.
The Bacharach Bone.
I like it.
There's nothing better than a Popar bite on the paws or a Rico bite on the paws.
Top water. Can't go wrong with it. Yeah.
But on the paws, not like walking where it smashes it. I mean like the bloop bloop.
Yeah.
Oh my God. One of those.
I agree.
Anyway, I got two of each, so those two stay in the studio. But that came last night with the
sweatshirt.
Yeah. If
have you gotten the whole house situated?
Yeah, well, except for the bedroom. That's the last thing I'm trying to she's been very accommodating with the closet situation. So she has 3 closets and I have the big closet, but I want to take one of the smaller closets and then give her the bigger closet, which then allowed her to put her shoes underneath it. And because I have like the walk-in closet, but it just doesn't feel right like that I have the walk-in closet.
You kept the walk-in closet.
I didn't keep it. It was just the way that it worked. I was unable to get my clothes out of there before the ice storm hit.
I think if I were you, Matt, I'd move out of that walk-in closet.
That's the game plan. But I'm doing this BTL stuff. She's on she's flying until Thursday.
Well, so when she comes home, you should have an empty.
Well, that's the game plan. But I may have a breaking news show later today, and then I'm going fishing for a 3-pound crappie with Zeke tomorrow.
What's the new show today?
I don't know. A breaking news show.
Like tonight? I
don't know. I have that. It's a call that I have to follow up on my lead after BTL's over.
No teaser. You can't give us teaser.
No teaser.
God,
if you guys are interested in
you just switch the topic.
Mexico this upcoming year in advance. We're doing the BTL trip. We had over a dozen guys go down this past year. You guys saw the story if you're interested in it. El Salto, December 9th through 15th, and then Bacharach, January 10th through 17th. If you have any questions about those, DM me at Matt Pangrac or shoot me an email at matt@bassone.com. If you're trying to figure out between which one, what to expect, whatnot, you can also go back and watch the Pro Bass Adventure show. And then if you're going to be at the Classic, we're coming out with the times and dates shortly where I'll be in the Pro Bass Adventure booth talking Mexico bass fishing. See, Matt, as an opens angler, I clearly cannot make a living on earnings alone. So I have to be.
You're well branded. You have done a good job building your personal brand.
We'll build it a little bit more for the next 2.5 minutes. Then we'll be back to get Matt's thought on dual threat fishing, among other things. It's BTL on a Tuesday. We'll be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Before there were hashtags, there were handshakes and shared stories. They gave us confidence to make our first cast and chase our dreams. They taught us to fish, and in the process, taught us about life. They taught us that success isn't just about reaching the top. It's about lifting others up. The future isn't just about selling tackle. It's about 3 simple words. Let's go fishing. Here's to the original influencers.
As a professional angler, there's only one thing that connects you to your paycheck. Probably the most crucial part to tournament bass fishing. I use Sunline because they have a line for every application. Shooter, FX2, All Might, super light line, big stuff, big sticks. Sunline has you covered.
Sharp as can be. Super strong, super durable.
Really good penetration.
Thinner and stronger.
Catch fish after fish.
I want to make sure that I'm using the best stuff possible.
World's finest hook.
World's finest hook.
Gamakatsu. World's finest hook.
Hey guys, Brian Schmidt here with Spro. I'm going to talk to you about the confidence I have in the equipment I use. You know, I have a charter boat business back home in Maryland. We fish for saltwater fish, and I also fish the Bassmasters Elite Series. So I keep my lights on by fishing. I have to have a lot of confidence in the equipment I use. Spro has me covered from head to toe, saltwater, freshwater, everything in between. A lot of high-end quality product. Spro has you covered.
Your early morning mentality is your every hour mentality. All gas, no brakes. Focus, purpose, power. Destined for the water, but confident everywhere else. A calming buzz before the storm, truth of nature itself. You can't catch lightning in a bottle. There's a limit out there, but it's not with your gear. Unrelenting power delivery. Unparalleled weight savings. Keeping you on the water, whether you run a 9.9 or outscoping your best 5. In this rare air, there's power in the silence. It's a mindset, thinking only of the things that matter and freeing your mind from the things that you trust.
My name is Matt Pangrac. His name is Matt Stefan. We're back. It's a Tuesday, and this is a show called Bass Talk Live.
Coming at you.
I think that'll have to be part of the show intro for eternity, right? Since Jeffrey started the thing.
Yeah.
Just like a little tip of the cap.
You do. It definitely feels like we're just starting again.
So people hated this music. This is an interesting like social experiment or like human nature. So when I took over the show, there was supposed to be another computer and sound system. I'm not saying he did it the most streamlined way that controlled the audio. It's also what allowed to do phone calls and things like that, right? But the intro and background music was controlled through this secondary computer. Like, see, I've got like all my soundboard mixing stuff and all there, and a completely separate system, which was a major pain in the ass. So when I moved the studio here, I didn't want or have that set up, but thankfully the system that I used had just come out with a background music feature. And I tested by downloading one royalty-free music that was on one of Jeffrey's old computers, which was Rock Me Up Maine. This. So it was like a change from what it had been, and I took flack for a solid 6 months for switching to that song. People hated it.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I've started trying to just kind of branch out a little bit, that has become the theme song for BTL. And now if I get rid of this, people revolt.
I actually wanted to talk to you a little bit about that, because you were, I don't know if you still are, but over the last month or so, I feel like you were mixing in some other beginning music. And
I was literally getting emails that were like, hey, quit trying to be special, bud. Just stick with what works.
I agree. I think I hear that and I know what I'm watching.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard from people. And it literally was not a selection that I took, any care in. It was just what was available at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm doing the show by myself. We're going with this.
It makes me want to pick up like drum. Not that I've ever drummed, but it makes me want to pick up drumsticks and like just play. You do what you want. I don't know that it would have an effect on the show overall, but I do think that sound at this point is built into the show.
Yeah. Here's the reality of it, Matt. In the world we live in today, you, me, anybody else, anybody that's doing anything, we disappear for a freaking month. People ask questions for a week, and then we're just totally forgotten to history. People move on, find something new.
Especially in the fishing industry.
That's what I'm saying, in the fishing industry. Like nothing is irreplaceable, or no one. Especially now. There are I wrote this down. I thought this was interesting. I said, this is why I think we're in an interesting time period in professional bass fishing. So you have your legends who are still around. Your Jimmy Houstons, your Roland Martins, your Bill Dances, your Hank Parkers, your Jimmy Houstons, Larry Nixons, Denny Browers, like Rick Cluns. Those are all like the legends, right? Like doesn't matter. They're still the legends. Then you have your first superstars. Now, the Denny, Larry, George Cochran, those type of guys maybe kind of, to me, float between the legends and first superstar category. Like they're kind of the bridge between like the OOOGs and the first superstars. But the first superstars, the early, Larry Nixon, I would say, obviously, Larry Nixon, Denny Brower, first superstars, throw Rick Clunn into there. They all waver. But I'm talking about like that KVD, Skeet Reef, that whole group there, like that were the first. They're like always, they're cemented in this too, right? Because this is so young and around. But then there's like this next like 2 or 3 generations to where you have guys that are well known, like your Wheelers and your Poliniks and Lucases and things like that. But it's like, where are they going to go? Like the first 2 are cemented, the legends and the first superstars. But now we're in an era where there's a lot of really good anglers who have been doing this for a long time. And then you hear, oh, they got cut. They're not doing, what are they doing anymore? They're not fishing. And it's like kind of scary to think about that, because those are guys who have busted their ass, made a good career for themselves, been around for a long time, and they're gone.
Well, I think like anything we do, any profession, if you stop doing it, you're eventually going to get washed away. So, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're an architect. If you hang it up and retire, you're going to get eventually forgotten about. I think to me, what's a little bit more interesting is when you look at like that first group of like the big superstars. So you got, you know, like you were saying, your legends, but you know, if you were to look at the group with like Van Dam and Skeet, Gerald, Iconelli, like I look at those guys and I feel like they, you know, if we go back to talking about brands, I feel like, I mean, they obviously have done an amazing part with their brands, but a lot of that I think was almost forced upon them in a way with ESPN, right? Like
Bingo.
trying to take this to the next level. And those guys are so good at it that they grabbed that opportunity and just built these powerhouses of brands. And if you were to look at the next wave of brands, like you kind of just mentioned, you know, the Wheelers and the Polinics and, you know, Cannell, those guys, I almost feel like they've built the brand more on their own social media networks than with the help of like outside influence from like an ESPN. So it's kind of, it's just, to me, it's a little, they're very similar in nature, but they were built differently. And, you know, it does make you wonder what is the next wave after that, you know, and how is that going to happen?
So I'm writing down another show idea.
Oh,
all
good.
right.
Glad I can
We have not really talked much about this because you've been ridiculously busy and I've been ridiculously busy. I know that you drove 56 hours to fish dual threat fishing down on Okeechobee in Florida. I know you've done videos about it. You can go over to Matt Stefan's YouTube channel and watch those first-person videos, how it went for the day, a little bit of commentary along with it. But I would like to ask, as an interviewer who is looking at a tournament trail where they basically said, we don't need your $1.8 million in entry fees, but we are still going to keep your $100,000 first place, the entire payout, and qualify you for a no entry fee championship where you win a $250,000 first play. I might be having a stroke. First place prize plus a Bitcoin.
And a Bitcoin, which has lost a lot of value recently.
And then you go around and hear all this stuff. You were there. You know how it went down, what it was. As an interviewer, your thoughts on your first dual threat fishing experience?
So my thoughts as an angler is this is phenomenal. You know, from the standpoint of zero entry fee fishing for a high dollar payout, doesn't get any better. It had I think I should have expected this, but the overall feel of the event from an angler standpoint was really positive and had what I would consider a championship style feel to it, because the level of stress was reduced drastically. You take the entry fee out of it and people are just happy to be there. They're having a good time, lots of going out and eating dinner afterwards. Like, and that the resort, Roland Martin Marina, is like one of the most perfect tournament locations in the country, in my opinion. I mean, they've got everything you need there, from lodging to restaurant, to the marina, to the bait shop, the boat ramps right there. The dock parking's great. They've got a built-in weigh-in stage. Like, so from that standpoint, it's hard to be an angler and not have a good time while you're there, because everything is so centrally located around the marina. There definitely was a sense of like, is this too good to be true? You know, from an angler standpoint, like you talk with everyone and everyone's like, man, as long as, you know, the check's clear, we're all more than happy to be fishing this. Like, we will do our part to try to promote it and grow it. And I think that was the overall feel. From an organization standpoint, I mean, they definitely have some work to do to get it to what I would consider a professional level event. But what I will say is they made drastic strides, not just from event to event, but from day to day in the tournament. So to me, that's stuff that's very easily fixable. You know, that's all just function more than anything. So it's not even necessarily like a big expense to fix it. It's just a matter of knowing the processes and looking at how to actually smoothly run the tournament. I look at it and I personally feel like this is potentially one of the biggest news things that's happened to the fishing world that's been positive for the anglers. I mean, I don't know how anyone could not want this to become a big time thing. What I will also add, and not that I got to experience fishing it with a team partner, but it was, for example, I watched Scott Martin it started putting out his recap videos for the Okeechobee event. And what I recognized from that was not how special it is necessarily just to be able to fish like a free tournament, but like watching him fish it with his daughter was to me really related to me fishing like just my Wednesday nighters with my boys and the ability to fish a high dollar event with them in the future was really like something that I didn't expect to get from the video. But when I watched it, I was like, it really is a very cool thing to share these moments with somebody else in the boat. So whether you're doing it with a family member or you're doing it with another pro angler, the point is like the team events always just have such a fun feel to it. I mean, they should at least. Doesn't mean you might not have two anglers that butt heads, but it just has a different feel where you're high-fiving, you're talking things through, you feel like you're in it with somebody. And for myself, I mean, growing up here in the upper Midwest, there are not many individual tournaments. Pretty much everything is team-based. So like, I was fishing 25 local events with my team partner every year. I mean, it's just he and I are great friends, and it was just awesome to be able to share those experiences and to see that happening in like some of the recap videos just makes me go, man, I do really think there's a place for this circuit.
A lot of talk about where the heck is this money coming from? And I think that has been turned from a question into a negative somehow in a lot of media spin on this. Like where's the money coming from? Destined to fail with no entry fees. What is the vibe from there? Have they told you anything about that? I mean, I know that the no entry fee thing seemed to be, but just as an angler, I know you're just speaking for your behalf, and I'm working on doing a show about this too. But what are your thoughts on that? Because
the funny thing is I have no information on that. What I've been told is there was an investor that came in, put a lot of money down, and that's what's enabled us to fish for free. I do find it somewhat humorous when I see comments like you're getting here where, well, there's no entry fees, so it's destined for failure. What I think is somewhat entertaining out of that is, what are we comparing it to? Are we comparing it to the other organizations that are out there that are charging $5,000, $6,000 entry fees? Because as soon as we start talking about them, all the comments come out and say that they're destined for failure too. So from that standpoint, if you're going to say that it's better for the anglers to pay $5,000 or $6,000 entry fees, I would argue that that's one of the things that's killing our sport. If we can get to a place where it's zero entry fees or drastically reduced entry fees for higher payouts, to me, that puts us in a much better place where more people are going to be interested in fishing it. What I would also argue, and I don't know that this is what's going on, but I would love for these people running dual threat fishing to maybe be thinking outside of the box where they're going, listen, there's not enough money here for us to go to the traditional endemic sponsors, right? These companies have already given their marketing dollars to these other organizations. That's not what we're interested in. What we're interested in is going after bigger, non-traditional sponsors that are going to actually bring a lot of value. And I've heard some rumors regarding like some of the companies they're talking to or going, some of their ideas for the future. And if that's the route that is actually true and that they're going after, I don't know that they care if, they get some of the local fishing companies to sponsor it. In fact, what I would actually say is if they're able to secure big deals from outside of the industry, what you're going to see is the industry companies are going to be knocking on their door to be part of it. So part of me says maybe it's a better approach not to try to go get some of your normal industry sponsors. Maybe it really is about going after the big fish. And this is a way they think they can do it. Now, I don't know what their plan is. I don't know what they're after. I've heard a few things, but they're just in the rumor mill. So whether they're true or not, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think we all should be hoping that this succeeds because it could really, let's put it this way. Right now, if I'm on the Elite Series or I'm fishing the BPT and I'm paying huge entry fees, the Elite Series, I guess, don't have the huge entry fees. But if I'm on the BPT paying huge dollars to fish and this new circuit came out of nowhere and they're offering free entry fees, do you not think that's going to put pressure on the other organizations to look at their structure? Like, as an angler, somebody that has to pay these entry fees every year, we have to bring, either we have to drastically reduce entry fees or we have to drastically reduce payouts. One of those two things, which over in the 15 plus years I've been doing this has not happened. It goes the opposite.
They've drastically reduced payouts, but not entry fees.
Exactly. Like, and I get fired up talking about this because it is like, I'm not on the sidelines just looking at this from the outside. Like, this is my life. When my entry fees go up, that's coming out of my pocket. Like, I don't see any good coming out of that for the anglers. So when there's a circuit that comes up that offers us the potential to fish for the same payout for travel expense, sign me up. I want to be there.
I like it. I'm trying not to say good stuff, but I wanted to say good stuff. There's a question here. Oh, Matt, I was reading the rules and wondered about how did you get to fish by yourself and then Miles fished by himself the following week. Can you explain that? Because you and Miles Berghoff are fishing the team. You fished it with Miles Berghoff the first week, which was a stuffed animal, and you destroyed the one and only BTL hat that I gave you to cut the ear holes out.
This was my partner.
I was not happy with the destruction of the BTL hat.
Why?
Because that tells me that you have no plans to wear the BTL hat in the future, and that you were like, oh, I could cut holes in it to put on Miles Berghoff. I've got backup BTL hats here. If you had been like, hey, I'm wanting to do Miles Berghoff, let's not use one of the limited run 30 in existence BTL hats to put on Berghoff.
So we talked about it as a household, not we, you and I, my family and I, when, I'm sure, Matt, you have about 100 hats sitting around the house, right?
I mean, I appreciate, listen, let me just say
this. 100 hats.
I appreciate the publicity.
I grabbed that one and I said, he's not going to be happy if we cut a hole in this, but I think the exposure will make it worthwhile. So I was really looking out for you. I could have put any sponsor hat on there, and I chose the BTL hat to show how much of a fan we are for you.
Okay,
for you.
I appreciate that, Matt. But back to the question. How were you able to fish it by yourself, and then Miles was able to fish it by himself the following week?
The rules allow each angler to fish one event by themselves. So I was allowed to fish one by myself. Miles is allowed to fish one by himself. We are not allowed to have subs, and ultimately we're allowed to drop an event too. So if you don't fish an event, you could drop that as your worst finish.
Oh, Sarah said we picked that specifically to support the show. I appreciate that. Look at that professional photographer down there. That's her chiropractor.
Yeah.
Are you ever worried when you do your annual, like, stand in front and do this and get your picture taken for the website for that year? Does that like make you nervous? Because I've had a couple where I was like, God, that's a bad photo.
I've got some bad ones. Yeah, for sure. I've got, so for a couple of years on the Tackle Warehouse pro, I don't know if it was a pro circuit or invitationals, they would give us a poster. So I've got a couple posters on the wall that show like the 40 or 50 guys that qualified that year. And I think there's 3 of them where they did it 3 years in a row. So the one on top is 2021. And the picture I have in that looks pretty decent. The one that it's over the top of, which is probably 2020, is one of my worst photos ever. But yeah, it's the funny thing is, so like with like in the old FLW days, Jody White would take the pictures, him and like Kyle Wood. And I swear, like, they took some enjoyment out of getting a bad picture. Like, because no matter what, they'd be like, go stand on those lines, turn your body, arms on your hips, and then they take a picture and you'd be like, is it okay? Like, I don't want to look like a fool. And they just kind of smirk and be like, no, it's fine. I hear it in Jody's voice right now. He'd be like, no, it's fine, Maddie. It's fine, Maddie. It's a good one. And you never get to see it until you go look on the website and you're like, oh man, that was a bad one.
What was the name of the tournament that they did in the Carolinas that was like a live scope tournament? Do you remember that? Like Emil fished it, Lucas fished it, Jordan Leaf, like everyone.
A one-off.
It was just like a one-off. But it was specifically like a live scope tournament. Like a pretty substantial.
How long ago?
Last year. Does anybody who's listening remember the name of that?
You're not talking the one on Gunnersville? That was the...
No. That was no scope. This was just kind of like a one-off deal where it was like basically like promoted as, hey, do whatever you want, like and then they put it on, and it was like to me, I thought they were maybe it was in Georgia.
Oh, that was wasn't that the one on Lanier?
Yeah,
wasn't there supposed to be a circuit, like a 3 or 4 of those?
Yeah, does anybody remember? Was it the Touring Anglers Association? No? Yes, it was. Maybe. It might have been the Touring Anglers Association. All right, we got to I think it is. Maybe not. It was a no-scope tournament? No, I thought it was a scope tournament.
I think it was a no-scope tournament because I think a lot of those guys did really good sight fishing.
This is not the one I was thinking of because there's like weigh-in photos of it, and the way that the lighting is, it makes everybody look 75 years old.
I don't know.
I don't know where it was either. That was an interesting one. I wonder what happened to that one.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I thought that was like 3 or 4 events. Didn't they have a whole...
Chris Johnson won it. Equipment restrictions. Live scope, forward facing, and 360 all removed. Okay, you're right. Yeah. I was totally opposite on that. But Chris Johnson, Emil Wagner, Corey Johnson, Gussie, Cifuentes all finished in the top 10. It was a sight fishing tournament.
Linear
it's getting wild out there. There's all sorts of stuff going on, Matt. Your YouTube has been popping off. I've been watching it. I mean, you've been putting out some bangers lately.
I have.
Yeah, well, you did a little brush hog action. You went back into the well for the screw locks on shaky heads.
Well, I did that. So that one, yeah, there's a whole big, a lot of people don't like screw locks because they shorten the amount of distance from the head to the hook point, and the worms don't release, so you can lose fish from it. And I've talked about how a lot of my favorite shaky heads come with the screw locks, but I trim the screw lock down. I cut most of it off down to about 1 twist. So it holds the worm really well, but it doesn't interfere with the amount of space from the head of the bait to the hook point.
You did a thing on the that I thought was interesting. The painted jig heads. That's like the biggest thing out there right now. I mean, we're headed to we're rooming together for the Bassmaster Opens to Sam Rayburn division, by the way. And the game plan is to go live in the evenings from that event, take advantage of our media savvy, like we talked about in the first half of the show. So whether it will be on Matt's channel or my channel, be on the lookout for that in the next week or two.
I'm looking forward to it. I can't, honestly, this winter up here has been driving me nuts.
Yeah. So anyway, I say that to say this. I'm getting my jig heads ready for Rayburn. I don't think it's any big secret that there may be a fish caught on a minnow down there. And you did a thing on the painted jig heads, which I'd also been worried about. I'm like, do I need to be blow torching my stuff? Should I have some black jig heads? I wonder if I need to have some painted. What about these new ghost jig heads that I'm hearing about? So that kind of put my mind at ease watching your painted jig heads video.
I just think it's funny how marketing can make old things look new. And I know, like, whether it's matte colored paint or, you know, taking tungsten and using a blowtorch to, you know, turn them kind of a charcoal color. I should be probably more impressed that we're able to say, hey, these, you know, off colored jig heads are now the new minnow craze because they're off colored. Like, I guess I should be impressed that was able to really become to grab foothold and actually sell a bunch of jig heads, because I'm sure it did, but it just humored me because I don't see anything new and innovative about that personally.
How many days in a row are you now?
Days in a row of what? Posting
a video.
Oh, I don't know. I have not missed a video in years. Couple thousand
years.
Probably. Yeah.
Were you the first post every day guy?
I
Who,
probably,
like, what no. Do you remember the moment you decided, like, I am going to post a video every day? Like, was it the start of a year? Was it someone who said, like, hey, you know, if you posted a video every day?
So it was a mix of, we had a Bridgeford team meeting and Randy Blockett was there and he does like 2 or 3 videos a day. So he had mentioned it. And when he mentioned it, so we have those meetings at the end of the year, November, December, which for me is not when I'm filming or not when I'm fishing a lot of stuff. So at that point, I had like 25 or 30 videos stored up. And I think I was doing every other day, something like that. And, I just remember telling him that I had a whole pile of videos stored up, and he's like, dude, if you can make that many videos, you should do one a day. So I thought about it, and I remember doing like a Google search, and it said something at the time that was one of the more preferred things for the algorithm. So I was like, well, I'll just try it. So I scheduled them all to roll out, and, you know, a video a day. And, you know, at this point, it's gotten to be a little harder to maintain it. But the reality is, you know, for the most part, it's not unmanageable, and it's just become part of my everyday workload, if that makes sense. And as long as I keep a good, you know, I've got probably 10 videos stored up right now. I try to stay about 10 videos ahead. And as long as I've got that, I'm good. I'm generally good to go.
What's wild to me is, like, I'm scrolling through and I went oldest to newest. So you've been doing it for 5 years. By the way, video a day, Hall of Fame idea by Blockett there. But what drives me mad is how, like, you'll have great videos. And I think we're all like this in the fishing. And one will have 55,000 views and the next will have 6,000 views. And they're all very similar. Is that not maddening as a guy who does all of this, trying to understand what makes one just go to the moon and another one that you've put more time and effort in? Just,
yeah, well, the maddening part for me it's more of not having any grasp on what will do well and not do well. So, like, for me, I mean, there's times I put a ton of effort into a video and it does great. There's times I put a ton of effort in and it doesn't do good. And there's times I put a video together where, like, so a lot of my videos come from viewer questions, you know, and
Okay.
comments where they're like, hey, could you do something on this? And I'll be like, well, that doesn't really necessarily make me feel all warm and tingly about the idea. But if somebody asked it, then I'll go ahead and use it and I'll make a video on it. And those will be ones that pop off. And I'm like, man, that is not something I thought would have been a good video. But yeah, I mean, I'm not the usual YouTuber that's out there really trying to get the views. I think I really have chosen specifically to try to make content that I actually think brings educational value. I'm not, I would probably be doing everything different if I was really trying to generate views, and it's not for me. I just don't, I don't have thick enough skin to want to engage in debates and hot topics. I'd really try to stay away from that now and just put out content that I feel like has value to somebody out there. And if that's the case, then it's worth it to me. But I know it's, I'm not going to get the big views that a lot of other people get.
How often do you get like a email or someone who's like, hey, watch a tip, went out with my kid, we smashed him, thanks a lot, can't thank you enough, really that's got to be that's got to be the payoff, especially. That's
what I mean. That's why it honestly, I say this a lot on my channel, that what motivates me is getting the feedback. When you have people that tell you a tip worked or helped, it's for me, it's very rewarding as an individual. But it's the other way around. So I mean, I probably have I don't get many negative comments, but when I get negative comments, it hurts my heart, man. Like and a lot of times I feel like they're so unjustified. Like,
what do you get negative comments about? Like I cannot think of anything that you've ever published that could even be remotely interpreted as negative.
The last one that really I got reamed out on was I did a video about professional level tournaments should not allow butt seats. And I personally think it's something that I can't see. I'm going to get reamed out again. I think butt seats limit the need for any sort of athletic ability. I think it helps anglers with control of the trolling motor. It helps anglers, use forward facing sonar. It helps anglers in rough water maintain balance. Like, if we're trying to be a sport, then that should there should be some sort of athleticness with respect to your ability to stand on the front deck and do it all without the help of a butt seat. And I also feel like there are other attributes that are not necessarily beneficial. I don't think it looks good on TV. I think it looks lazy in terms of, like, if you're trying to bring new people into the sport. I think there's a potential safety hazard there in terms of driving around the lake with a chair that's sitting in front of you. It does block your view a little bit. Like, I think there's a lot of reasons why we don't have it. Now, having said that, I don't care if you use it when you're fun fishing. I think people should use it. But, that video came out and I got reamed out, and it was like everyone just got so upset because I was saying that they shouldn't have a seat. And, everyone's like, I got a bad knee or I got a bad back. I get it. I got a bad back. Like, I'm not saying don't use it. I'm just saying in professional level tournaments. Anyways, I really got reamed out on that video for that one.
Yeah, I think the problem was there. You were not saying that you were trying to take
I'm not trying to take seats away,
injuries and seats away or anything.
And I would argue that if you do fish at a professional level and you've got an injury that requires the seat, then that's fine. Like, I think there's, just like we have health exemptions, so you're asking, that is one I did it probably a couple months ago, and it just makes me laugh when I think about how negative that one went over. But that's what I mean. I don't have
these. I'm reading the comments now. These are legendary. Here's a guy who says, I couldn't give a shit less. I see no issue with that.
I'm telling you, Matt, I don't have thick skin either.
I love you, Matt, but get rid of butt seats and not FFS because of how it looks.
And so here's the funny part with that. There were a lot of comments where like, oh, you're going to say get rid of butt seats, but not FFS. What they don't realize is how intertangled butt seats are with forward-facing sonar. Like, it is a way to also not reduce forward-facing sonar, but reduce the ease of using forward-facing sonar. So there is like a relationship there that I was trying to address without addressing.
I'm a butt seat user as well.
I know you are.
You know why? Because it's more efficient. And I'm past the age of caring what I look like on the water.
Well, it's not a matter of caring what you look like. I don't think it looks good on TV. And if you're trying to appeal to the masses, and we're trying not to have this already kind of historical feel of, oh, fishermen are just beer drinkers. Like we're sitting in a boat just watching bobbers drinking beer, which is what a lot of people think we do. I think putting a seat in the boat doesn't help that when you have somebody flipping channels that have never bass fished and they're like, look at this guy sitting on that seat. I don't think that helps with that feeling.
No, that's fair. So you're buddies with old Johnny Schultz, right?
Yes. He is.
Did you see his latest video?
Oh yeah. I didn't give him hell. What happened?
That's your boy in a full sit down seat, and he's like 27 years old.
So what happened is he actually texted me a picture of your comment on the video. I don't remember what it said, but it was something like Panger's letting me have it for the butt seat. And I responded back to Johnny and I said, if I hadn't known that was you, I would have thought that, that was a 50-year-old guy sitting there fishing for crappie.
I can't remember what I said to him. I said something on the comments. Oh, it was on Instagram. He said that's his solution to get closer to the screen.
But you know why he does it? He does it because he's having major hip issues.
I was unaware of that. He didn't tell me that. I wouldn't have gone hard on him then if I.
No, and it's the same thing. Like for me, that's the thing. Like I get off at Rayburn, I will have a headache every day. I will have a hip that hurts. I'll have a knee that hurts from doing it all day long. But it's. So I'm not saying it doesn't help. What I'm saying is it helps too much. We should take it away at the professional level events.
I think if you plan on scoping, you should plan on scoping. They should put a rehomed, like a wild badger in your boat. And you're like, are you going to scope today? Yes. And then boom, right before takeoff, they let this thing freaking go in your boat. You can do whatever you want during that day, but that badger has to be in your boat when you come back to weigh in. That'd make things interesting, wouldn't it?
It would be awesome.
Or like a rabid squirrel, something that would like get at you, but not kill you in the boat.
And so reading these comments, the funny thing is like, there's mentions about like herniated discs and like, 50-year-old. I am basically a 50-year-old guy at this point with herniated discs and bad knees and ankles. And I choose not to use the butt seat, which is probably my own damn fault. Johnny's telling me I got to go to the full chair is what he's telling me.
Really? I'm back, right?
I see you. Yeah.
Did I disappear for like 10 seconds?
I love how you just get me in trouble. I'm getting texts now about butt seats.
From who?
Just friends who must be watching the show. Yeah. You know what was funny is I actually Wheeler did a similar video shortly thereafter.
He said the same thing.
Yeah, he did. I know.
I feel like he has people though that take the brunt of the hate for him. Like he has a buffer. I don't know.
Do you think he's on there reading comments or no? Probably not.
I think that all comes down to personality. I think there's guys that we watch on TV every day that sit in there and fret over the comments. And I think there's guys that I think you would assume are comment readers who are not.
Potentially.
I've kind of shocked myself lately. I've shocked myself lately. I've had like a little bit of joy in my heart for a few snarky comments that have popped up.
Yeah.
And a few snarky comments have popped up that I then reply to.
Yeah,
like I'm a 0.5% replier of snarkiness, but I also don't get very much because we don't do much controversial BS on BTL.
Yeah, well, that's a good way to avoid it all. That's kind of what I try to do. Like, I didn't think talking about butt seats would be a controversial topic until it came out, and holy hell, I will not talk about that anymore on my channel.
I feel like you just approached it incorrectly. You could have approached it with a disclaimer at the beginning, which you did, but it wasn't like, hey, if this is how you enjoy the sport, like this video is aimed at 100 people.
Yeah, I just not talking about it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of my stuff is like, oh, you're so not like the slam on me is that I'm not controversial. Like that, like that's the insult.
Well, but
or that I'm annoying, or that
I mean,
I talk
do
too
you,
much.
I guess the question I have is, do you think
that
you
I
would
don't catch fish?
Do you think you'd benefit a lot from being
That I
very
need to quit
controversial
fishing?
though? Like, do
No.
you actually think like if you turned into this, we're gonna just go bounce
No.
and I don't think that would necessarily help the channel at all.
I legitimately, when I started doing BTO with Mark Jeffries, and I know everyone's gonna say, oh yeah, I legitimately did it for 5 years, doing it every single day with Mark Jeffries, like with no money, like barely getting, like my parents helped me get by with like an apartment in Norman, Oklahoma to do it, because like the money just wasn't there. Like I was traveling, covering the Elite Series, and I was doing it every day, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I still thoroughly enjoyed it. So when I got into this, I didn't get into it trying to chase views and money. I got into it because I've been obsessed with it since I was 4 years old, and then found a pathway into it. And then through my dedication to it, I think that evolved into a career. Yeah, so I've never made the decisions on the show based on views. Now, have I the recent thumbnails and all that stuff? Yeah, heck yeah, I'm doing it because of that. Because BTL February 3rd with Matt Stefan, like, yeah, I'm having fun with that, but it's not. I've never done the clickbaity chase the stuff.
Well, and I would argue that you're just putting more effort into improving the content you're creating. So like the fact that you and you'd be doing the podcast anyway, so why not step up the thumbnail game a little bit more to try to attract more people to it?
Yeah.
It's not like a clickbaity title. You're not putting on there like, I stabbed Matt Stefan on the podcast, right? Like it's literally just the podcast with a title and a date. I mean, it's like, I think personally, I think you, when I say you, not you, but like both you and I, for not really diving into the gossip world, I don't think it hurts us at any point, because maybe we're not getting the big views, but I don't think we're alienating anyone either. Because I really think you can, with the way social media is now, if you go super hard in one direction, you alienate yourself, which doesn't necessarily help us build our personal brands. It limits us.
Yeah, like here's the problem. And I'm not talking about anyone in particular. I'm just talking about social media in general. Once you become an ambulance chaser, you have to keep chasing ambulances. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, if that's the route that somebody chooses to go, more power to them. But it doesn't.
You have to keep chasing ambulances, and that has never. I do not like my personality. I do not like conflict. I do not like controversy. Especially, I think there are some things that should stay behind scenes too. Like you can have a beef with someone. It doesn't mean the whole world needs to know you have a beef with someone.
Yeah.
I have no beef with you, Matt Stefan.
Well, you turned me down for dual threat fishing.
I did not turn you down.
We sat at a diner on our off day at Leech Lake last year, the day the dual threat schedule came out. Right? You remember that? Was
that the Sasquatch diner?
Yeah, that one in that town that has the most sightings ever. I read it out loud. I said, that schedule is amazing. I looked at Miles Berghoff, the real one, and I said, what do you think? He said, it's a good schedule. And I got nothing. I looked at you and you said, I'm not doing that. And then I looked at Blake Schroeder, and Blake said, I'm already thinking about doing it.
The reason that it was not on the table for me 100% was schedule and time of my life. Because I got married in October. I've revamped a bunch of stuff.
I don't even think you were engaged at that.
Yeah, I got engaged last April.
Oh, all right. Well, that's fine.
Like April 19th. That's when I got engaged. I'm impressed. I remember that.
I think you would. I actually think you would love it.
I 1,000,000% would love to do it, but at some point I have to make a responsible life decision, and this was a responsible life decision. Could I have? Would court have let me? Absolutely. Would it have been smart for me in the business at the stage I'm in my life right now? No. That's why I'm not fishing all the opens. Top 35 and all the opens get in to the EQs. I mean, I have 40, 50 guys that are doing it. Like, hypothetically, that's your freaking in. You just go and don't just absolutely suck in 8 in a row. You're in the top 35 by the end of the year just because it's a war of attrition. But the same reason that I didn't do the dual threat is to say, I mean, I didn't apply. It's not like they asked me.
Is that true?
I think I talked to one of the guys. He said he thought there was around 50.
And they take, I didn't realize they even do that. They take from the top. If you fish all 8, and
finish in the top 35. You go straight to the EQs.
So they actually do a total points for both divisions?
Yes, top 35. You fish it all. You didn't know that?
Yeah, maybe I did. Maybe I didn't want to. I don't like the idea of fishing 2 circuits to get to the same place. If you
0.0, so you have basically 3 circuits.
Yeah, well, yes, but I don't like the idea of
Division 1, Division 2, and top
being that, like
of
you said, you're not going to make any money realistically fishing the opens. I don't like throwing more money away to try to get to the same place. Meaning, if you qualified in all 3 divisions or both divisions, at that point, I'd feel like I just threw money away to qualify in a division I didn't have to fish. I realize it gives. I won't argue that it gives you a better shot to get in. It just seems like. I just would rather do it in one division.
It's not top 35 from each division. It is top 50 in each division. So Division 1, the top 50 after 4 tournaments. Division 2, the top 50 after 4 tournaments. And then
you're saying an
top
additional
35 overall.
I thought
fish all 8.
Do they roll that down? Because I thought there were only 110 guys that fished last year. So
I don't know how
50,
they're. I'm not exactly sure how they're rolling it. I think they might either they're. If you're in the top, I don't know. I don't know how they're rolling it. I have to.
How many people are signed up for Rayburn? Do you know?
I have no idea.
God, you're usually on top of that stuff.
I told you I've been busy, man. I did like 24 shows in January.
Man.
And I'm trying to get the house clean. You know how hard it is to get. I'm in Oklahoma, living the Oklahoma life. I got 2 couches on my back deck right now.
Weren't you just snowed in for like a week?
Yeah.
Well,
I have 2 couches waiting out there that I put in the back of the truck so I can take them to the dump.
You got any perch left?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
I need to fill up the freezer on some perch. I'm out.
It is. Travis Manson tried to sell some on his show last night.
Some of your perch.
No, not my perch. Some of his perch from New York, which I looked it up like online, and it actually said that it was legal. It said that it's not considered like one of these game fish, and that as long as you abide by the rules, you can legally sell yellow perch in New York.
So as long as he was under his daily limit, he could sell what he catches each day.
That is the way that I understood it.
Huh.
It says it is legal to sell yellow perch in New York as they are not listed among the protected or restricted. Now he didn't. He was doing it as a joke. He brought them out and then he's like, "Hey, I'm not actually selling them." They're not listed among the protected or restricted species that prohibit commercial sale. Recreational anglers can sell yellow perch provided the fish was legally caught. However, it is essential for local state and regulations to be followed in bag and size limits. That shocked me when I looked that up. I thought that was highly illegal.
I've never, I don't recall anyone ever actually trying to sell freshly caught fish. You know what I mean? I would think if that was legal, you'd see people at the boat ramp just be like, "You want, I got 10 walleye for sale."
Well, you can't do it for walleye. There's only specific.
Wait, why can you do it for perch and not walleye?
Because perch are not listed among the protected or restricted species.
So in New York, meaning there's no limit on perch?
Note that many parts of New York, there is a daily bag limit of 50 perch. They must be caught in compliance with.
Man, I'll tell you what, Lake Champlain, I've never seen schools of perch like I've seen on Lake Champlain.
I know, it's a major issue every time I've been there. I get very distracted.
Like, you go into a shallow bay and the whole bay moves. It's unbelievable.
You might have to hook me up with those.
I'll show you where to
bays.
catch. There's no bass there, I can tell you that. It's all perch. Solid sand.
Interesting. Chuck's saying there's a place in New York around Champlain where you can take them and they'll give you a buck of perch.
Interesting.
All right, I know you got a busy day. One of the cool things that Bassmaster is doing, if you guys are interested in it, is they are doing a fan cam. So where they put a camera in the boat, you can type it in right now. Cooper Gallant, Alex Redwine, Easton Fothergill, Bill Lone, Stetson, Aaron Jagfeld, and then two Okies, which I'm proud of. Blake Capps and Austin Cranford are tied. Then Will Davis Jr. and Fisher Anaya. So you can go in. You have to like type in the name of the guy that you want to, because it'll just give you like all the list, and then type in the name of the guy you want. And
that was
that's
percentage.
big for a rookie.
I couldn't read that. Was that percentage of the vote? Or was that total?
Yeah, those
vote?
were the top ones that were. Those aren't total votes because it's only showing. It says shares. I don't know how many. I guess for every vote you get a share. But I mean, out of all the guys that could have it, like to have Blake and Austin up there is pretty cool.
Well, it's interesting to see that those are the anglers. You would have thought it was more of the traditional powerhouse names. Cooper's got a big following though. He's got all Canada behind him right now.
Yeah, a lot of the ladies like Cooper there, so I'm sure they're on there voting early and often.
Who did you vote for?
I voted for, so it lets you vote twice. So I voted for both Blake and Austin. Like both good dudes, both need the camera time. You know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't pick one over the other.
Yeah.
But I like, you can go, I don't know whether it recorded it, but you can go in and like vote.
And they do that for every tournament now, right?
Numerous times. I don't know. It says voting ends February 4th. Today's February 3rd.
Are they doing it for the Opens?
I have no clue. I think there's only 6 cameras for the Opens now.
But it's only last day, isn't it?
Yeah, but it had been 10 cameras. I think it's down to 6. So you better be in the top 6 at Rayburn.
I'm looking forward to Rayburn.
Flipping all them flooded cypress.
There won't be a cypress. There won't be a piece of wood anywhere close that was naturally grown there.
All right, let's hit it with that famous music. I appreciate it. That was a fun show. We covered a lot of topics. A very serious show. Usually we just have a lot of awkward banter back and forth, and then I call Matt and I'm like, "Was that a really good show?" It's like, it was a really good show. I feel like we actually tackled some pertinent topics in the world of professional bass fishing today. Well, you laugh like you're unsure of that statement.
I'm always unsure after I get off the show as to I don't ever know where it's going, and I don't ever know how it'll be received. But I'll guarantee you I'm going to have nasty comments about butt seats in my inbox.
We'll see how this show ends, because I turned the background music off and it didn't stop. I turned it off about 20 seconds ago and it's still going. Oh, there we go. We're back on it. Do other shows that you're on, you get off of the show and you have warm and fuzzies, or this is the only show that you question the validity or the quality of the content?
Well, I feel like this is one of the few shows I get off and I actually further discuss with the host as to how the show went.
Can't do that after today because I have to clean that closet out in my bedroom, and then I have to go get a new spare tire put on the wheel, and then I have to do some investigative reporting and then I have to go film CTL tomorrow. So it's like boom, 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 boom.
You're busy, dude. I like it. Building your brand.
Last night, I'll say this one thing. Have you ever just had like a hankering for something that just comes out of nowhere and you don't have it in the house, and just on spur of the moment, you're like, screw it, I'm going to go out and get it?
I have the hankering all the time. The problem is I can't generally get what I want in the town I live in.
Oh, yeah, you are kind of.
Like, I'm saying, like, I want a good slice of pizza. We don't have, like, what I consider good pizza or something along those lines. Generally, we don't have it. What did you have a hankering for?
Not the cup of ramen, not the ramen that's in the packages where it's shaped like a brick, like the prison ramen that you, like, snort the flavor packet, eat the ramen, that one. But the ramen that is in the big bowls. They're still $1.30, but they're like the spicy beef ramen, and they come in the big bowl, and then you put the like paste in afterwards and stir it.
Yeah.
I had a hankering for those. So I ended up going at 9:00 last night to make a high quality top ramen run.
Do you have a good place to get actual good ramen?
Yes. It's in the city though. But legitimately,
that's not like super
this
close
is like
to you.
10:00 at night. This is what I was doing.
Oh man.
Just a cart full. That was $9 worth of top ramen.
And that's expensive. When we were in college, you buy them little orange ones, the little bags, the bricks of them for like 10 cents. I think they were like 10 for $1 all the time. So you bought high quality stuff.
I had 2 of them, and I'm feeling the sodium this morning. That I have found in my older years that I am very susceptible to sodium bloat, where like my ankles and wrists and stuff. Like if I eat too much sushi, like when I went to Japan, I felt like I was wearing a fat suit.
So you actually do swell up.
Oh, like huge, massively.
Well, I can tell you, I am excited. Do you want to know why I'm excited to go to Rayburn?
Yes.
Because my hankering for DeLuca's pizza will be satisfied potentially on the way down and the way back. It is potentially my favorite pizza joint in the country is in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And I just happened to drive basically right through there on my way to Rayburn and back.
Very nice. Are you going to bring some for the house?
I was thinking about it. Yeah.
I'll Venmo you.
It's fantastic. The key is I'll know better when we get closer, because you have to basically order the day ahead of time. They only make so much dough and they're out when they're out. So like you can't just call them on a whim and be like, I want a pizza. It's like you have to plan for it. So as I get closer, I will take care of it. But yes, I probably will be coming down with 3 or 4 pizzas, which will be cold at that point.
Can you also, did they ever chill out on the price of the beer?
Did they chill?
What's the name of that?
What do you want? Spotted Cow?
Yeah. Did they ever chill out on that, or is it still like $97 for a 24-pack now?
Well, it's not that expensive, but it's probably $40 for a case.
Yeah, I need a case of Spotted Cow as well, Matt, Stefan.
We can make that happen. Bottles or cans?
I would like bottles, but I would prefer cans for storage.
They fit better in your boat cooler?
No beer in the boat, Matt, Stefan.
I know.
Good joke.
Here, look at this pizza. Look at this.
Oh, that does look good. That's in it. What is that style is that?
It's new. This is New York style pizza is what it is, but it's so good, dude. So
Josh, who's
like that's a big pizza right there.
New York style. So he's got the kokanee. So I've got 20 a rack of kokanees, and then you've got the Spotted Cow.
I'll bring you some.
Spotted cow is that expensive?
Is not. It is like they've increased price drastic, like really quite a bit in the last year.
How many did we get at the Tackle and Booze or whatever it's called?
Taps and Tackle.
Yeah.
I think you bought like 4 cases, maybe took back to.
And I think it was
wedding?
$170 for 424 racks of spotted cow.
I'm gonna Google it quick, see what we can find.
That's an
I was
outlandish
surprised
amount
too.
of money. Yeah, you could. Yeah, we definitely could knock out pizza the first couple nights because we have to.
Yeah, this is.
We have to
it
do the
says
cooking
$32 for a 12-pack of bottles, and that's before taxes. So
for a 12-pack.
no, that's for a 24. Oh no, that might be a 12-pack. Oh, anyways, I'll bring you some.
Okay. One night though, whatever we do food wise, one night, the Stomp.
Yeah, we
Gotta
should
go
go
to the
there.
Stomp.
I also want to go to the sushi place one night.
There's a sushi place.
Well, we got Thai, but it had you guys ate sushi. I was getting like pad Thai.
Where was that?
Down in Jasper. It was really good. We went a couple nights. We drowned in our sorrows.
Yeah, I 100% remember that.
Yeah,
we can definitely do that. They will also have this time they'll have crawfish, I believe.
At the Stump?
Well, that neck of the woods is I believe
it's
crawfish
that
season, isn't it?
Mm.
When is crawfish season? I know when I was down there pre-practicing that they were pretty pumped that the crawfish were coming in.
I don't know when crawfish season is. I would
Well,
say
there's
when
a time that you're mid-January through June.
Oh, that's half the year.
We'll have to do a crawfish night.
That sounds like fun too.
All right. Thank you very much. I enjoyed that show.
Thanks for having me on, Matt.
Not very many negative comments, so I think we got away scot-free.
That's good. I'll sleep better tonight.
Yeah. All right. I don't know why I talk about my music and now my music's not working. I have no idea if the show's going to save or not. Interesting. All right. This has been another edition of, well, I'll let you get off the screen and then I'll try to figure it out. Thanks, Matt.
See ya.
See ya. All right. This has been another edition of BTL. Bass Talk Live. Fishing Chaos comes on. Big announcement. We actually have everything done, lined up, finished, ready to roll. You guys can get involved in that. Support a great cause. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and the Dick Hiley St. Jude Bass Classic. And then Thursday, Uncle Frank returns. Then next Tuesday, brand new episode of CTL. We'll talk to everyone later. See ya.